Hello everyone and welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name's David Edgar. I am your host as always on the podcast that discusses the champions. Joining me this week as we discuss Rangers maintaining our 100% home record with a 2-1 victory over Hibs, as well as everything else that's liable to happen this week. It's first of all Cammy Bell.
Thanks for having me on, David. A pleasure to be on the flagship as always.
And joining us is the pride of Linwood, if such a concept doesn't fry your brain too much. It's David Marshall.
How are we doing, guys?
I am doing well, and so we're Rangers at the weekend. 2-1 win over Hibs. Strong team, a very strong team. In fact, you could argue, Cammy, that apart from Ryan Jack and James Tavernier, it probably is the first choice team. Slow game overall, I felt. I mean, even compared to the previous matches with Hibs, is that just an inevitable part of we are getting towards the end of the season, and from our point of view, the league has won, and from their point of view, there's that belief thing when you play Rangers?
Yeah, I kind of said in the extra show at the end of last week, the incentive I wonder now is, because depending on where the top six obviously finish, pretty much the top three positions are more or less taking care of themselves. I don't know if you've heard, David, we won the league over a month ago now.
It's crazy. We don't get the trophy for another 5 weeks.
Yeah, I know. But the other teams may feel that, if their positions are pretty much ratified, maybe there is a bit of an incentive to try and take that unbeaten run off of us, especially at home. So Hibs, I think, would have kept. Listen, Hibs have been difficult opponents for us all season. So I think what we needed was not something that was going to be high intensity, let's leave it all out in the field because we've got one eye on next week. We know that. But again, Hibs were going to come and compete. They weren't just going to simply come and just... I don't think Jack Ross puts his team into a position where they would just simply have said, let's just, settle for second best or whatever. They would have felt that they could have come and had a pop at us and maybe been able to be that first team to beat us at home. Or take points off us at home domestically, that could have been their aim. So, as you say, a strong team and one that I was pretty pleased with. Might be a bit of an argument around is a stronger team involving Kamaru or Yanis Hadji. I don't know. That's been tinkered about quite a lot this season, but yeah, as I say, I'm very, very happy when I saw the team selection that we were taking it seriously.
Yeah, you can have your own choice on individual players, but I think we're talking on what the manager has gone with when everybody's been fit. So I think that it's a good basis if you're trying to pick what he's likely to line up with next weekend. Dave, Rangers played well in patches, I thought, and in those patches got the 2 goals that would lead to the victory. The real good spell of pressure, ball put in the net, but unfortunately Kamar Roof getting the last touch before it went in made it offside. But then 3 good saves from the Hibs keeper, eventually Joe Aribo. Really nice finish from Joe Aribo. He's starting to add the goals into his game that I think we've all felt Rangers have missed a midfielder who did it, and B, we felt he was capable of.
Yeah, I watched the game today because I never seen it yesterday because I was at the women's game, so it was also a wee bit different for me watching it with the, being a bit more relaxed knowing what the result was, but it did very much feel like the season's coming to an end. There's not much to play for here. We were, when we were good, we were still quite good and was able to raise the level of the performance to get the goals. The first one from Joe Aribo was an absolutely fantastic finish. The skill and awareness to take that shot at that point is just superb. And I think it is something that Aribo, he's starting to add it. We need to see more of him, get more goals from that point in midfield. It's something that really negatively affected us the last couple of seasons and something we've really improved on this season. I'd like, I think we've said that a couple of times, next season going forward is going to be a big season for Jody, but I think we need to see him doing this more often. I know his work rate can be a little sus at times as well for people, but he's got this quality, and I know there's definitely a player in there that's going to be a big contributor for us, I think.
Cammy, I noticed, I think we all noticed towards the end of the first half, Hibs started to get a fair bit of joy down our left-hand side. And it was quite clear that they were targeting that area. And after the match, in the press room, Martin Boyle, the Hibs player, was there. And I said to him, was that a deliberate tactic? And he said, yeah, because the thing with Rangers is the fullbacks push so high up the pitch that they're going to hurt you. You've got to get it out quickly because there might be a space, but it will be closed really quickly. That's the thing. They're such a good team. And you said they've got such good central defenders and such good midfielders that you have a very short window of opportunity. And if you get the ball, very quickly. So that's why in the throughout the game, but certainly the last 15 minutes of that half, that it was just every time a Hibs player got the ball in their own half, it was immediate look up and try and hit Boyle, and they did get a wee bit of joy at that, I think.
Yeah, listen, Hibs will play to their strengths, and we obviously will come on to what happened in the second half a little bit later. But yeah, you could start to see that was coming down the left hand side. I don't want to pick on him too much because we're talking about a league champion here, but I think it's fair to say that Borna Barisic maybe hasn't been at the races in his last few performances. But it does come back to what you said beforehand tactically. I'm not laying that blame at Borna's door because, listen, we've seen teams get joy from our right-hand side when Tab has been, up the park attacking. There's a part to me, David, where maybe I've got a bit of a concern over where some of our midfielders maybe could do a little bit more in terms of helping, tracking back to be able to try and support the centre-halves, as you say. And listen, we knew our style of play when it first started having such success was only going to be finite until opposition managers twigged that was going to be a strength, but also a weakness for anyone looking to be able to try and capitalise on coming to be able to score goals against us.
I don't think that's the key. I don't think that they've found us out or anything. I think it was just that they took advantage of a couple of things. One was that I don't think Borna had a good game, and two, I don't think Glenn Kamara had his best game either. I think both of them looked slightly off. And in Boyle, they do have real pace and reasonably accurate passing. But I think it's just it's a risk that any team who plays this system we do, Liverpool or another, will take. I don't think it's any sign of right, we need to come up with a different plan. It's just we need to be better. We have been better all season. I don't think it's a case of needing to kind of rip up the plan and start again.
No, not listen for sure, because it gives us so much joy going forward. Of course it does. And again, like you say, I think that you mentioned some players within there as well. I'll hold the hands up whilst we've already complimented Joe Aribo on his goal. There has been times when Joe Aribo has done well in terms of tracking back and all that kind of stuff.
And he switches off.
Do you know what? We don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater here, because, like you say, we get so much success from it that maybe what we need to do is make sure that those individual players are given that little bit of that additional emphasis. That it's pure basic times, and I'm an absolute layman in this space. But being able to say, look, if we lose the ball, then we have to collapse in on making sure that we're supporting our back two, as it were, if our wingers are further forward. Is your immediate thought process, right? If so and so loses the ball, I've got to go back 20 yards to make sure that I'm stopping runs, all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Because I think it allows us that opportunity to really maximise the system that we use, and more importantly, whenever possible, stem off any opportunities that opposition may have.
Dave, something within that discussion about Hibs decided that they would attack down our left-hand side, and it was very clear, and it was the tactic. Now, partly that's where Boyle plays, but you can switch him to the other wing to take advantage of his pace. Rangers had a very young fullback out there, and Hibs got very little joy down his wing, despite the fact that they had Josh Doig, we'll talk about him in a second, up against them. A battle I think a lot of people, including our manager, said he was looking forward to seeing. And I thought Nathan Patterson, it was a really good battle. They're both good players. I think Nathan Patterson came out stronger. But it kind of shows you the respect levels that already have been generated for him, that they thought, now we'll actually have more joy up against, potentially have more joy up against their left back than we will against this youngster.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking when you were going over that Boyle quote there. It's odd for a team to come to against any team and not target the 19-year-old guy who's made less than 10 starts in the first team yet. But I think it just shows what a good start to his Rangers career Nathan Patterson has, and just how well he's fitted into our system. You could also, I suppose, make the point that if we've had a weakness in defence this season, and it's a really harsh statement to make, but it has been stopping getting balls into the box. If we've lost a goal, it usually comes for that, and Borna can be can be a wee bit bad at that. He can be a bit slow to get out his man sometimes, putting a ball in. So maybe Hibs saw that and thought that was a potential, the potential to go for. On the other hand as well, you've got a guy in Nathan Patterson who is going to be right up for it. He still wants to make an impression. He's going to try and give 100% every game. And Cammy alluded to at the start of the game, Borner's in there. We've won the league. It's domestically, in the league at least, it's kind of job done apart from this undefeated streak. So you can understand where he'd maybe switch off a wee bit more when Nathan Patterson is still fully focused on the job, I'd say.
Ryan Kent then would get what proved to be the winner at the start of the second half. Again, I thought Rangers were in control of the game at this point. Terrific goal, Cammy. It's the intelligence of the last little shimmy just to give himself that, because there's no space for a shot till then, and he realises that. And then when he does, still has a lot to do to score the goal. Giving him 12 goals and 13 assists for this season, 25 goal involvements. That's what we've needed from Wideman. There's a reason we're winning the league this year, and it's all the things that we've said for the last two seasons have been addressed.
Yeah, and you know what? I hate saying it because of the circumstances that we've been in, David, but these are the kind of goals that I hate us not being in the stadium, because Ibrox, the roof comes off when you see goals like that, because, exactly as you're saying there, the great touch, because there's a wee step over just immediately before it. It almost looks like a gap develops just before the second touch to be able to take it by the second Hibs player. And Kent's wise enough to be able to see that there's probably a bit where Marciano is going to have too many bodies in front of him, so therefore if he can put it by almost towards his post, it's going to make it very difficult to save. It was a great goal. And I'm gutted that, like I say, these are the kind of goals that really get you off your seat. You know what I'm talking about with that.
Absolutely.
And it's Kent's awareness. I think we've spoken a lot about Ryan Kent, and he just doesn't stop. His work rate is phenomenal, right? We all know that. He'll be well up for next week as well. He loves playing against them. But when he is in that kind of form, what's always great about this is you can see the Hibs players having an idea of what he's trying to do, get him onto his left foot and trying to stop him getting that shot away, and he still is able to create the time and the space to put in an exquisite finish. And listen, I'm taking nothing away from Marciano, who is a good goalkeeper, by the way. I think he is.
One of the saves in the first half was
the one that was kind of down and he kind of almost palms it up. But yeah, listen, I think, to come back onto that point, it's a great finish, and we have a phenomenal goalkeeper ourselves. So that in order to beat Al McGregor, it's going to have to be something decent. Ryan Kent can produce those kind of shots against opposition goalkeepers, which for me are virtually unsavable. And that's all thanks to the effort, the time, the space, everything that he creates in the back of it. I know that he's felt like as if he's kicked his own arse a little bit too much for not contributing with more goals. And I'm very, very confident the management team have put their arm around him and said, look, you're doing things in other areas. You will get goals. Don't worry about it. But you just know what he's like, David. You know what he's like. Mm-hmm. He wants to score the goals. He wants to get them over the line. So every single time you see him doing that kind of celebration when he's running off, it's great because it just means the world to him.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree with you on the point about fans of the stadium. It did strike me, though, when it was 2-1 with 10 minutes to go, and I thought to myself, can you imagine what Ibrox would be like, Dave, if we were like 2 points ahead? But we're not 2 points ahead, we're 20 points ahead. 20, not 2. And even though it's only April, we won the league a month ago.
I'm no mathematician, but as far as I'm aware, 20 is a lot more than 2 points.
It's a lot more than 2. It's actually, if you take 20, if you have like £2 and you want to buy something that costs £20, you'll actually need another, 10 times the amount that you have.
That's
to
incredible.
Do that. Isn't it? It's an awful lot. But yeah, I think that Ryan Kent is provided us, with so many great moments, and I love seeing him when he does that. And again, he always tries, and sometimes it doesn't come off. In the first half, it wasn't coming off for him, but he never gives up. He keeps going, and he got his reward. And then I think, maybe understandably relaxed a little bit. Hibs were still in it. They had a complaint, Dave, about a foul on Philip Helander that led to a goal from Porteous being disallowed. Jack Ross certainly didn't think it was a foul. Didn't complain too much about it right enough after match. But what you two actually, so are both qualified refs. But Dave, what was your thought? Having watched it, I thought he had a pull at Helander, and that kind of Helander, that's why he loses his footing.
I'll be honest, I think we got away with it. I've watched a few times. I watched the game back today. I've seen the incident a few times on Twitter. I don't think there's a hell of a lot in it, to be honest. I've said I've only been watching wee schemes. Watched the game back on my Amazon Fire the day and my Kindle, and only saying watching the Twitter videos on my phone, so I'm not watching the big screen. But from what I've seen, not a lot in it for me. I think if it was the other way around, I'd feel a wee bit aggrieved there.
Cammy?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the context I would put it in, David, is if he scored from that and the goal was allowed, then we'd probably be sitting here going, Hollander's not strong enough there, and you know what is he doing? So there's a part of that. Right. What I'd probably, and I know, sorry, just to go back a step, if I may, I'm interested to kind of get your thoughts on this as well. Was the Boyle yellow card for simulation? I'm thinking David will probably agree with me here. David Marshall will probably agree with me here. But to me, that it goes into that category that we've spoken about in other areas, which Alfredo Morelos has fallen victim of as well, by the way, where a player goes down in the box, is booked for simulation, but for me, it's not a penalty and it's not a booking. I think it's just one of those ones where in a contact sport, you come together, there is a fall to the ground. I don't think Boyle's looking for it at all, by the way.
He's not.
And again, another poor decision, I think, by the referee.
There's quite a lot in that, and we do like to be fair on here. So having moaned about what happened to Alfie at Livingston, then I think we can, at least try and be fair. Which is, I hate this binary thing of, well, if it's not a penalty, then it's a dive. No, it's not. He was knocked over, not enough for a penalty. He didn't claim a penalty. I didn't think it was a penalty, but I was very surprised to see the referee not with the booking. I wonder if he was involved in an incident at Ross County a couple of weeks ago, and it got highlighted in the media, and John Hughes came out and had a go at him. And I do wonder if sometimes referees have that on their mind, and there's a bit of, that's Boyle, he dived a couple of weeks ago. I just think that you can absolutely book someone when they dive. It does happen. We see it, right? Let's not kid ourselves. There are times a player's in the box and he throws himself down, or he kicks his leg into a defender and goes down. And if you want to book a guy for that, that's fine. But in situations where there's like a coming together and the defender is stronger and the boy goes down, if he's not, especially if he's not up screaming and bawling in your face, then I don't think we have to go to the level of it has to be one or the other. I think they're very much as a third way.
And I don't think there's anything in the laws that says it has to be one way or the other either. I'm with
no, not at all.
Wasn't a dive and wasn't a dive, wasn't a penalty kick for me. No,
like I say, I think it's possibly influenced by who it was, in the way that Alfredo was undoubtedly influenced by who it was. Although that was a worse decision because it was clearly a penalty. But I do think that sometimes referees need to just, as we've said before, give what they see, as opposed to factoring in other things. But they would get a goal back. Again, I don't think we really covered ourselves in glory. I think Connor Goldson loses Nisbet. He's a decent player. He gets the header. But again, I think Rangers saw the game out pretty comfortably. And look, Dave, Hibs are a good side and they played quite well. And, I would agree with Cammy earlier. I think Hibs have given us more trouble domestically than any team this season. So even though we weren't fantastic, and we weren't at our usual level, I think that we do need to take that into account, the circumstances of where we are, and while acknowledging, we can and we'll need to do better next week, we still beat Hibs, reasonably. I never felt we weren't going to win that match.
No, I think a 2-1 victory against Hibs is good at any point in the season. Go back to the analogy that we used at the start of the show, if we're 2 points ahead at this point in the season, we're sitting here talking about what a fantastic result that was and how it was just important to get that over the line and get onto 3 points and move on to the next week. For a game that meant, nothing to us bar trying to keep ourselves undefeated, I think that's a great result. The performance wasn't great. I don't think it, versed or was even close to verging into terrible or bad.
I'd agree with that.
There were bad performances. Borna didn't have a good day. Kamara didn't have a good day. Things we could have done better, but I'll take that at any point in the season. I think they have gave us our best games in the league this year. It's a decent win, decent 3 points, and keeps the winning going. I wouldn't read too much into it for going into next week. I think we will absolutely raise our game going up against Celtic.
I think it is fair to say, though, Cammy, that we haven't been at our best since we won the league. I think in any of the games now, there's possible excuses for what happened initially after. There was a lot of emotion. Then, of course, the Glenn Kamara incident. Not really fair, actually. I'm not being fair to call it the Glenn Kamara incident. I should call it the Kudela racist incident because Glenn Kamara didn't do anything apart from being racially abused. But that, then because we go to Parkhead, we don't play particularly well, but we get a draw. We don't lose. And I think that there is a legit thing to say that this team plays better when it's playing, game, bang, bang, bang. But the manager spoke about having a week to get ready for the upcoming game, and I'm like Dave. I'm confident that they will raise their game and they will deliver on the day. I'm a lot more confident now that the kickoff time has been announced as being 3:00 on the Sunday. Of course, it's the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral on Saturday, and understandably and quite correctly, in my view, that they don't want anything clashing with that. So the game has been moved to Sunday. Initially, rumours were that it would be moved to 12 p.m. on Sunday, and I've got this thing that we're rotten at 12 p.m. on a Sunday. 4 of the 5 games this season we've dropped points in have been a 12 o'clock kickoff because I don't think the players get going till about 12:30. So 3:00, I'm perfectly happy.
Well, I mean, it's 3:00 at the moment, David, but Celtic could look to seek clarification as to why it's not 12 o'clock, and it could change. We don't know. I mean, they've already looked to be able to try and understand as to why, our 19-year-old right back is allowed to play in it, because fundamentally they're not happy with it, and we are playing, the best team in the country. But all of their nonsense statements aside, listen, I totally agree with you that for whatever reason we set our alarms for 12:30, and we've seen it before in games. It's like we score like 1 minute after the half-hour mark, and you know what? I'm glad that we managed to kind of get it finally sorted out. I agree with you in terms of it's absolutely the correct and respectful thing to do, in terms of making the rearrangements. David's right. Don't
get me wrong. I'm disappointed. A Saturday afternoon kickoff for an Old Firm game was fantastic, but such is life. Some things move it on, and 3:00 on a Sunday is probably as good as we could have hoped for. Because I'd have loved a Friday night. 7:45 on Friday would have been perfect, but I don't think there was any chance of that.
No, I think we would have struggled to see that. David's hit the nail on the head. I always think Old Firm games tend to take care of themselves. I think you can have the best form in the world get into them, and then you can get turned over. There's also the same point as well where this is now, as we've mentioned before, with it, this is now our mini season start to kind of come into it. We didn't have to burst ourselves against Hibs. We got a good result against them. There were some good performances in there. I think that some of them could have been better. That's fine. But again, like you say, it didn't have to be high intensity. It didn't have to leave everything out in the field. I agree with you in that we do need to play games on a regular basis. And I think somewhat ironically, probably from January, it's kind of felt a little bit like as if it's been stop, start.
It has, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that now when we look into it, we focus in the Scottish Cup. That is now our most important game of the season. That old cliche. But listen, do you know what? I've got a lot of confidence that these players will find the motivation. The manager will make sure that they are fully aware of what they're expected to do. We mentioned before about teams coming out to try and take a bite out of us. This is what Celtic will certainly want to be able to try and do. So we have to make sure that we've got the right attitude for it mentally, which we've had to, show in the past, which we have done. And again, like you say, the question I think is whether or not if James Tavernier is fit to play. The manager came out last week and said that it looks like there's an outside chance. Whether that happens or not, we don't know. But I mentioned yesterday to you guys throughout the game, I thought Nathan Patterson did very, very well yesterday. I think that you take the focus off of his age. And I don't think that you're saying at that point there, that's a player that needs additional focus. I think he looks settled within that team now. And I think that, like I say, that's a big testament to him focusing on his job and all the peripheral stuff around him, just putting that to one side.
Yeah, and I don't even think that it's not an Old Firm debut because he has Old Firm experience. So, yeah, I've got zero concerns if we've got to go in with Nathan Patterson. Got to go in sounds like we've been forced. He's a really good player. It's that simple, and he's playing well. So no, absolutely. Dave, on that, Cammy mentioned that Celtic not happy last week. Their interim manager John Kennedy sticking his neb in. I know it's day of the week with a Y on it.
Yes.
He was very unhappy with the scheduling of Nathan Patterson's and the other COVID players, the other COVID 5 players. The hearing, Stephen Gerrard came out on Friday and said, well, we didn't set it wasn't us that set the appeal date, it was the SFA that have chosen that date. And similarly, we didn't say anything about Dubai or various other, but he pointed at things like Bolingoli, for example, jetted off to Spain and got less of a ban than the boys did. So I think he clamped him very successfully.
I talk about leading with your chin, bizarre comments. Is this? I don't know if this is a last throw of the dice or just desperate from Kennedy trying to get himself that job. Gerrard had an easy win here, and this is child's play for somebody as savvy as Stephen Gerrard going up against John Kennedy. Although he may be the bravest man in football, he's certainly not the smartest man in football. But it's quite incredible, David, the selective amnesia that Celtic as a club and their support have. There was no Sharknadoes over the winter period after our league celebrations didn't happen. I'm quite sure, give it a week or two and John Kennedy will come out telling us that, in fact, Celtic didn't go to Dubai. They actually had their training camp in Saltcoats.
I've always had that opinion that they have a remarkable capacity for self-delusion, for forgetting anything that they've done and remembering things that other clubs have done. And they complain a lot about, well, we got punished for what happened in Dubai. I don't think anybody forced you at gunpoint to go to Dubai. I think it was your idea. And alone out of every major club in Britain, every club in Britain, not major, every club in Britain, you chose to go, which to me indicates that it was a bloody stupid idea. So, no, I don't have an awful lot of sympathy for that. Cammy, I know you were very taken with something yesterday, which was the young Gers, young My Gers members takeover of the club. And for anyone who hasn't seen this, please go to the Rangers website and have a look, where drawings of the first team by some of our youngest fans. I know that you had got an awful lot of enjoyment at that.
Oh, I thought it was magnificent. Whoever come up with that idea at the club, give yourself a massive pat in the back, and please promise us that you'll do it at least once a season. But yeah, this is where it was a junior My Gers takeover, and they took over all of the pictures of the first team, as you say, David, the management team. Kudos to whoever did the Stephen Gerrard egg, because I thought that was absolutely magnificent.
That was brilliant.
And they used all of the images. They took over, even the Twitter picture for the Rangers account was the drawing of the 55 champions and stuff, because I don't know if you know or not, we won the league last month. But it was fantastic. It was great to see. And it's just a brilliant way to involve the young kids kind of coming into it and stuff as well. And I sincerely hope that people do get a chance to be able to go back onto them and look through, again, like the Joe Aribo drawings and all that kind of stuff as well. When he scored the goal, it was brilliant, the goal notification celebrations and stuff. Yeah, great idea by the club. Really, really well done. And it was just a nice wee ray of sunshine, I think.
David, what then do we learn at the game at the weekend? We know we have a bigger fixture coming up. We do still very much want to go through the season undefeated and to hit the 100 points. They got the 3 points. It wasn't the best of performances, but as Cammy mentioned, I don't think it ever veered into, Jesus, what are we watching here? I would say, for example, in terms of poor performance, I don't think Hamilton away this season, I hope not anyway, will be topped. And thankfully hasn't, maybe St Mirren in the cup. But do we just say, look, we know we need to sharpen up, we've got faith and confidence that you'll do it, or do we think, right, maybe we need to look at shaking up the side a little bit?
I don't think so. I think the team's still in a good place. It's hard to play these games, let's be honest, when you've been having this focus in your mind all season, desperate to get that title back, and when you do it so early, we're in a bizarre position, really, because I don't think any of us, even our wildest dreams, thought we were going to have the league wrapped up this early. I didn't expect it going right to the wire, maybe even to the last day of the season. And as we've mentioned, we won it so long ago. if I had a short memory, I might even forgot about it, but thankfully I don't. I'm happy with the team as it now. I don't think we're at the point where we need to be worried. I don't think the team has switched off to get that result on Sunday there. I think that's a good indication where we are. I think the team wanting this undefeated record in the league. And when it comes to the important games, I think we're doing enough where it can get to the point, David, I think we saw that in the end of Mark Warburton's season where we totally switched off in the league and couldn't turn back on when we had a cup final to play. I don't think you can do that. You can't completely switch off and then turn it on for the big games. But if you do enough, I'm not expecting us to have the same intensity we've had the rest of the season. But if we do enough, make sure we're still being competitive games, going out to win these games. I think we'll be okay. I think we're in a fine place right now.
On David's point, Cammy, and a good comparison there with the Warburton team, I think that team was out on its feet. I think it was really the last hurrah. The last it had in it was that cup semi-final. And then I don't think we won a league game after it. And of course, we know what happened in a cup final. I don't get that vibe off this Rangers team. They don't look, as I say, they didn't play fantastically yesterday, but you don't look at them and think, nah, there's nothing in the tank there and we need summer. I might be wrong, but I just don't get that vibe.
No, listen, you're not wrong. It's we've refreshed the team throughout probably I would say the last 18 months very, very well to allow the opportunity for players to come in and stake their claim within that as well. We've had some of those as I would say as an unfortunate byproduct when we consider Nathan Patterson getting an extended run in the team because he's replaced one of the players of the season through injury. But at the same token, some of us yesterday, David would have said, quite surprised Scott Wright's not been involved. Scott Wright's come in early, has played what for me has been, some fairly healthy appearances so far. And again, like you say, it allows you that opportunity. That recruitment will come in with its own merit of keeping some of the players on their toes, not looking like we've had to kind of go full bung. This isn't UFA. This isn't having to leave all out in the park and then have to have recovery and then be able to try and come into it. We're sitting here moaning about two things, which always makes me laugh. The first thing is that we're saying here, well, people aren't putting in great performances. League champions are not putting in great performances at the moment. We don't have to. And the second thing is that when you're talking about whether or not we have to be able to have a regular fixture congestion, we're kind of saying that we're almost moaning about it not being as Sunday, Thursday constantly. We want more games and constant repetition. That is a great place for us to be able to try and be in. We should never forget the success that we've had and the fact that a team that has now got the taste of winning, that's what we wanted. We wanted to take some of these guys who haven't had that experience of winning a major title. Now they have it. Now they've got that taste, they've got that flavour, and to move that on to the next level, that starts again for me in earnest at 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. So I think there's that got its own self-motivation. I think when you bring other players into it, when you spur each other on, I think we've spoken about it before, David, in a few of our pods, whether it's on here or on our Patreon site, around the captains, the natural leaders that we have in the team, Al McGregor, James Tavernier, Connor Goldson, Stephen Davis, just to name a few. These guys will continue to maintain that momentum. And listen, sure as hell you know that if they don't do it for each other, the manager certainly will. So there is that ongoing emphasis and accountability to yourself and to each other that you will continue to perform within that. So yeah, there's definite differences between this and the Warburton team, but these guys are now gelling far better. They're more in a cohesive unit together. They rely on each other more, and they're champions. So again, like I say, they know what it takes to win, know what it feels like to win, more importantly, and as a result of that, that's going to continue to propel them further forward. And my hope is that we're talking about this next Monday as in, okay, let's get into the next round of the Scottish Cup.
Yep, that is all that matters. Cammy, of course, will be back with Heart and Hand Extra later in the week where he'll have a full preview. We'll obviously know a wee bit more in terms of things like tab, etc. by that point. He will return with that. If you want to hear more from us, then please give us a try on our Patreon site. It's patreon.com/Heart and Hand, where from just $1.99 per month, you can listen to up to 5 shows. There were 9 shows, 9 on Sunday. We have got the best coverage of Rangers. I don't even think it's up for debate. If you don't like me or you don't like Cammy or you like David, then that's cool because there's like 40 podders and I'm sure you will find, I mean, out of 40 Rangers fans, you're going to find some that you like, let's face it. So give us a try. We have a huge retention rate, over 92%. So when people arrive, they stay. And I'm very, very proud of the quality of the shows that we put out there. Thank you then so much to everyone for listening. Thank you to my two guests. First of all, to Cammy.
Thank you, boys. A pleasure to talk to you.
And of course to David.
Pleasure as always, boys. Cheers.
Thank you for listening, folks. Thanks to executive producers in London, Mike Lee and Paul Myers. I'll be back here next Monday. Cammy, of course, will be here on Thursday. Until then, have a wonderful week. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you then. Oh, and remember, Rangers are the champions. Take care. Bye-bye.